Welcome to the Coach's Couch. I am absolutely delighted to have you here with me today. I always enjoy being on the couch with you, and so thanks for snuggling in. I'm imagining us with a bowl of popcorn, a warm drink, and having a chat. And so let's get down to it today. We have a wonderful question that has been submitted by Life and Liberatory Leadership Coach Stephanie McKinnon. And you can find Stephanie at stephaniemckinnon.com. Stephanie, thanks so much for this question. I know that it's going to be one that will be super helpful for lots of people, whether it is that they have a circumstance like you do right now, and I'm going to explain that in just a little moment, or they may be building their coaching business from a place of working elsewhere, whether that is maybe full-time or part-time. I'm kind of thinking about this more from a full-time perspective. And that was certainly the case for me when I started out building my business many years ago now. And so Stephanie has asked, how can we stay connected to our coaching and our coaching business when our time is very limited? And Stephanie went on to explain that she's just returned to an employee position, and this is something that she's very much navigating right now. And so for those of you listening, that might be you, but it also may be that that's just where you've been at, full stop, from the start with your coaching business too. And so let's dive in. The first thing that I want to say here is that this is one of those questions and one of those topics where you could get a lot of different responses depending upon the person that you were asking them of. And I can only share from my own lived experience and I suppose expertise in a way in regards to what it is that I've seen and known work for many other coaches and people building businesses while working for someone else, particularly in a full-time capacity where time is very much more limited. Obviously, that's the case. The more you work for someone else or elsewhere, the less time that you have to be able to devote to anything else. And so what I'm sharing here, please don't take as definitive in any way. And you're going to have to try different things that may or may not work for you. Some of these might, all of them might, maybe none of them will. I don't think none of them would. I think they're fairly universally, or at least some of them are, very helpful. But you're going to have to try, right? Different things on for size that may or may not work for you. So here we go. The first thing I think is always super helpful and very necessary when life gets very full and time either feels or genuinely is squeezed, is to take some time to hover above that. And instead of getting too quickly caught up in the day-to-day of things, to step back from that a little bit with giving yourself some time, because it will be necessary, I believe, and look at things in a more visionary, big picture and macro way, right? And there's two main ways or two main things to do, I think, when you do that, which is helpful. The first is to either find out for the very first time or ground back into your why. Why did you become a coach? Why did you become a space holder and a service provider? What is this all about for you? Why are you in service to the people that you are in service to? Find or reconnect back into that intrinsic motivation that you had for becoming a coach and doing this in the first place. To re-spark your motivation and get really clear on why it's a necessity for you to find the time to devote to it. right? Just get back to the heart, get right back to the core of why this is even a need for you right now. This then leads into the second part, which is about your values. This is a very necessary time for you to be guided by them and not making hurried or quick, fast decisions on the daily about anything that is as vital as the future of your coaching and coaching business. Rather, be guided by your core beliefs and values to find a way, not just through this time, where time is now of less abundance with you, but to adventure and to play and create and be curious about how your time is best spent when you have other necessary commitments. This is one of the major reasons why, it's not the only reason, but it's one of the major reasons why our values are so important, because we want them to guide us in the actions that we do, in the things that we say, in how we prioritize, in what we devote to. So we're making our decisions from places that are truly heart-centered and grounded and vital, not just chasing things here and there. Our values should guide our decisions. They shouldn't just be shiny things that we put on a piece of paper or stick on a pinboard and go, yeah, they're nice. That's what I value. It's like, no, they're meant to be action orientated. They are meant to be something that actually helps you make decisions and guides you forward, says yes to things, no to other things, maybe to things. That's a necessity right now. This is something that can wait. These are the things that your values help you with. Connect back in to those. This is the time to do that. From there, I then think that the next step, Stephanie, and everybody listening for who this is really relevant, that it's time, if you haven't already, to pick up pen and paper or get your fingers near your keyboard and get planning. Now, I know you probably just did an eye roll there, okay? It's like, here comes the, supposed boring stuff, plans, planning, all of that sort of stuff. But honestly, I'm going to be really straight with you and say, from my perspective, it's the only way to get things down and really get clear with yourself to look ahead at the bigger picture. Say, for example, for the next year, and write down and get really honest with yourself about all the meaningful but also realistic things that you want to do and achieve in your business with the available time that you have, not just for your business and coaching and that work, but also for life, for loving, for living, for your own self-care, relationships, and more. And please, I encourage you to do this in a way where you are radically and compassionately and lovingly honest with yourself about the time that you have now, which is going to be different if you've gone back to work or your circumstances have changed, and also not just your time, but your capacity. Very important. There is no point creating a plan for your coaching and your business moving forward from a place that is not honest and is not realistic and is seeing you do things like be up until 2 a.m. with no lush free time or room for beautiful living. And if it helps at all, make a big plan and then slowly and meaningfully match the biggest priorities that you have within that, which only you can decide, with what you can realistically give it time-wise. So I'm going to go into a little bit of personal example here which I hope is going to be helpful for you, Stephanie, and listeners. While everyone is different, I have found the most helpful way for me to think about available time I have and to begin to consciously schedule things is on a weekly basis. When I was working full-time in the early years of building my business, I committed and blocked out in my calendar Tuesday evenings for 3 hours, no TV. This was way before the days of streaming services and Netflix and things like that. No TV, nothing that night. Thursday mornings before work for 90 minutes, hour and a half. And either a Saturday or a Sunday morning, I work best in the mornings. For you, it might be more evenings or afternoons, depending upon worked best for me on weekends around things like fun invitations, leisure time, family commitments, etc. A block then of 2 to 3 hours. And I kept those times with myself like my business depended upon it, because it did. And yours does too. That was time for seeing clients and doing things like writing, sending newsletters, creating social media posts, researching events that I could go to, and more. Now, that was just my way. Yours may be different. But what I do know is this: to keep your coaching business burning in a good way and building, you have to be conscious about this time and deliberately make room for it. Expecting that you will just find the time or do it when I get to it or when I can won't happen, or if it does, it will be rare. Because you know what? Life. Just life, right? Now, I tried to go about it that way. It's like, yes, I'll get to it when I can. I'll give to it when I find pockets of time, etc. Before I began to commit time in those more conscious ways, and things always got in the way. Most of the time, 90+% of the time, they got in the way. And it wasn't real enough, and my devotion wasn't fully there. And so I had to get more devoted. I don't necessarily love the word disciplined, but I just had to get more committed, and I had to get more devoted to actually blocking out the time and diving in and doing things, all sorts of different things at those times. Now, this one's really, really important. It truly does not matter, to a very significant extent, I think, about how much time. I was aiming for 6.5 to 7 hours per week while working full time. Now, for you, that may not be feasible, and that's okay. You also might be able to give more, right? Everyone is different here. Just know that any time that you consciously create, which is spent in devotion to your business, and as you say, Stephanie, remaining connected to it all, will have a positive impact on what you're building and doing. Even 2 hours a week adds up over time. That's 8 hours a month. And I'm going to be really real with you here. I think in whatever way it may work for us and our own needs, if we actually want to grow a business, we need to find time and devote a couple of hours, hopefully more, to it every week. And if that couple of hours is actually simply not doable or possible, then it does bring into question a whole range of other things. But if you sit and be with yourself and plan this out, even starting with that small amount of time, over time, as I said, adds up. Think about how you're spending your time, how you might be able to do things, where could you find a couple of hours to devote. It doesn't need to be the same days and hours and times. And note that I'm not saying anything here about consistency, which actually can be very ableist and very hard for some people. You can switch things up as much as you need or want to. And who knows, every now and again, like I did, you might be able to find a whole day on a weekend, or you might be able to take an annual leave day and do a whole heap of things from work if you can, to just dive in and go for it. Just know that in my experience, you have to plan for it, and you have to then keep that commitment to yourself time-wise and the beautiful work that you are bringing into the world. It's not going to happen if you just hope for it to happen. And look, we can guide ourselves in so many different ways here. Like, I know for me, I remember, and I still do this in my calendar, you know, that time that was devoted to my business, I always shaded out in my calendar in my favorite color. And it was there all the time. And I knew when I saw that gorgeous, you know, pink color, pink is my favorite color, that I was just like, oh yes, that time is coming up. It's like, you know, I'm going to dive in there. I'm going to make plans. I'm going to do this. I'm going to write this, or I'm going to see that client, or I'm going to look into that event, or whatever it is that I was doing, write a blog as it was back then. You know, in this day and age, it might be write a Substack or a long form social media post. It could be anything. And so just know that it's so vital to actually consciously make this time. Otherwise, it can just slip away from us. And we don't want it to slip away, because you have beautiful, as I said, meaningful work to do in the world, Stephanie, and everybody listening. And we want to see that out there. And I know for myself that making this time and devoting to that time was a part of the reason that I was eventually, while doing so, while working for somebody else full-time, eventually able to drop that full-time work back to 4 days, and then 2.5 days, and then 2, and then eventually move into my business full-time. It is momentum over time. Stephanie, thank you so much for submitting this question. I hope your new job is going beautifully. And I hope that there are some helpful suggestions for you and for everybody in this episode, if this happens to be the season that you find yourself in with your coaching business. Please know that the more you devote to it, the more you will see results over time. And go gentle here, okay? We have to be realistic that if you can only devote certain small pockets of time, that means things are going to take longer, okay? And that's okay. And it also may mean, from a connection piece for you, Stephanie, and for anyone just wanting to remain connected, any amount of time that you can give to it will absolutely keep that connection and fire burning.